All right, so we got a new Shudder film tonight, and we watched it. This is a horror comedy from writer-director Emily Haggins? Haggins?
Hagens? We weren't sure.
I don't know. All I know is Emily is definitely someone to respect because this woman or kid, I mean, she's a woman now, but she made her first feature film, which is actually on Tubi.
Yeah.
How many movies do you have on Tubi? I have zero.
Zero.
This girl has a movie on Tubi that she made, directed when she was 12 years old.
It's so amazing.
That's
and so
just
cool.
crazy
Like,
to me.
that's awesome.
So
Awesome.
she also directed some short segments in some anthologies, which is, Chilling Visions, Five Senses of Fear, which I'm a big fan of. She directed the segment Touch. She also did a VHS segment in that real short YouTube VHS anthology that they made. I watched.
I don't think I watched that.
No, I don't think you
No.
did.
I don't think
And
so.
then she also did another anthology real recently in Scare Package. The first Scare Package, which I am a big fan of as well. I don't know which one she did, but
Yeah.
really cool. So this is a horror comedy, and this is about a family that moves into a house, and they find out that it has a demonic possession, it has a demonic entity,
Yeah.
and it demonically possesses their young daughter.
Yeah.
And they make a deal with this demon that they are gonna bring him a better host for him to take, a soul to take, right? So then we meet our main protagonist, and this is this guy who he never really commits to anything, and his girlfriend dumps him because of it, and so he's down and out, and he gets talked into taking this place because they kind of want to find somebody who doesn't have anything, right? So they're kind of looking for like a drifter or something, and they come
Somebody
across
that'll be
this guy.
forgotten.
And they're asking him questions like, "Do you have any family or
Anyone that would
anybody
be
would
looking
care that
for
you're
you?
dead?" And so he rents this place, and while he's there, he realizes that he's walked into a trap,
Yeah.
and that's that.
That's the synopsis.
So, okay, I will say, this is very much comedy, but there's a good amount of horror in it. But a lot of the horror is comedic. But then there is horror that is actually pretty freaky-ish. Nothing crazy. But just like, oh, that's a little different in tone. That there's something with an oven, and there's something this and that. And I was like, oh, whoa, that was actually creepy. That was actually a good idea, a good shot.
Yeah.
So this isn't completely like just comedy. There is horror. Some of that horror is goofy, and some of that horror is legit.
Right.
But I really enjoyed this. I thought that this was a super fun movie. I thought that the main protagonist was funny. I thought I actually quite liked him and cared about what was happening to him and his life,
Yes.
because he's struggling with the breakup and his ex-girlfriend, and his buddy, and this girl that his buddy's trying to set him up on a date with. And I really liked the characters. I really liked the banter and the back and forths and the kind of the retorts and responses, and yeah, it was funny. I quite enjoyed this film.
I did too. Yeah, I thought it was really funny. We both laughed a few times throughout.
Yeah.
Which I'm notorious for not laughing during movies most of the time. Not because I don't think that they're funny, but anyway, I thought that this film did a really good job at playing on typical haunted house demonic possession tropes.
Yes.
And setting up these scares and gags that they would then make comedic
Yeah.
And it just worked really perfectly.
Well,
like
you
everything.
had mentioned, and she said it really well, you had mentioned that this film felt like kind of a parody on living with a shitty roommate.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the whole time it definitely felt like that, and there's actually some pretty heartfelt stuff in there. With Will, the main character, and like his lack of commitment and struggling to find who he is, and like, whatever his passion is, which is something that I actually relate to pretty. Like, not, I mean, heavily, but, I'm obviously not his level of non-commitment, but just, like, having an interest in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And not knowing, like, how to get really invested in those things. So you're sort of just, like, you called him a jack of all trades, right?
Master of none.
Master of none, and that's a good description of him. But, yeah, it was really fun. The characters were all, like, their chemistry was great together. A lot, like, the banter was really hilarious, and the reactions that the characters had to things I found especially funny, because it was just the opposite reaction of what you would think
Typically,
that somebody would have in a horror movie or in a horror situation. So
the film is very good at subverting typical reactions and tropes, as she had said, and I think that's where the film really is strong, is kind of deconstructing this subgenre of horror in a comedic way, and it being funny because as a horror fan, you know what's going to happen when he pulls that curtain back, and then he doesn't. Right. And he comments on it, and it's like, it's funny the way it's done.
Yes.
Like, some films try to do that and you just eye roll. But with this one, there's a sincerity in it, and there's a love for the genre that's very obvious. And this, Emily clearly understands the tropes of this genre, of this subgenre of horror, and that's why she's able to subvert them so well. And working with her actors, she's very successful at parodying and this kind of stuff, because that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. It's very difficult to make fun of a genre that the audience who's watching it loves.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you gotta kind of gotta know what the audience is gonna be looking for and what they're gonna be finding funny. So really good job by her.
Yeah.
And she's been making films she's 30 now. So she's been making films for 18 years. So it shows. And
It
I
totally
definitely, I'm glad she's finally making like a feature. I know she made one she was younger, but this is like an actual legit, like, budgeted set type of film. And I look forward to seeing what she has next.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Yeah.
Some good stuff could come out of it for sure.
Absolutely.
I feel like her and the creators of Deadstream, I feel like they could team up and make something like super cool.
Deadstream is just the fucking best.
It is.
Just the best.
But this was really fun, and it was. I love horror comedies. I really do. I always have. When we find
work.
good ones
Yeah.
and they work, like, they work so well, and this one is definitely like a big recommendation.
I mean, you're right. Like, Deadstream has that kind of mix mash, of horror,
Right.
horror comedy,
Right.
and comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, like this film.
Yeah.
Deadstream is definitely the superior film, but I did quite like this, and it's definitely a recommendation for people who like quirky horror comedies that are self-aware. Kind of reminded me of, like, maybe Ghost Stories with Martin Freeman, or there's a bunch of movies. I'm not going to bother comparing. But yeah, that's that. Definitely check it out. It's on Shudder. It just dropped today, and worth your time for sure. If you're into horror comedies, some people are like, I don't like comedy anywhere near my horror, but and you'll get the tone. You'll get the tone
right away.
Right? It's not Scary Movie or anything.
No.
It's not like that much of a, like, slapstick or anything. It's not like Haunted House with
No.
with Marlon Wayans, or it's nothing like that.
It's like reality adjacent,
yes.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, but as I said, like, this is one of those films I've said before. Watch 10 minutes. If you're not into it, shut it off. Right? You'll get the tone. And if that's not your tone, move on. Right? Because I knew 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, okay.
We're gonna like this.
We're gonna like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
They got a good tone going here. It's the kind of horror comedy I like. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Congrats to Emily and everyone. Because, yeah, that's
Really good
incredible.
job.
12 years old.
I know.
What am I doing with my life?
Oh yeah.
I'm 40 and I've made 0 features.
It's alright. There's still time.
Mm-hmm.
There is.
All right.
Bye.